Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Way That I See It. My name is Lucy Superfox. I'm moving my microphone, and this is my podcast. So thank you so much for coming back, for joining me. Get comfy. Does anyone else do that? Anyone else, any podcasters? Let me know below. If you find yourself sitting down and then you're like, okay, yeah, I'm not comfy. So I wanted to jump on today because we've got to talk about self-confidence. We've got to talk about what confidence really is. Like, I talk a lot about money. I talk a lot about manifestation. I talk a lot about creating and designing your life. But what the foundational challenge is that if you don't believe in yourself, you can have all the skills, all the knowledge, all the resources, all the tools. But if deep down you don't actually believe in yourself, we've got a problem. And this is what confidence really is, right? Self-confidence is the feeling of knowing, of trusting, of being sure, of having that certainty that you can design, that you can create, that you can manifest, that you can do anything you freaking want. And when you don't have confidence, it's all very well buying the books on manifestation or listening to my podcast about money. But the truth of it is, if you don't actually believe in yourself, if deep down you don't have that energy, that commitment, that certainty, that conviction that you can do, have, and be those things, then nothing in your life is going to change. Now, all confidence really is healing and clearing the past, is restoring that energetic capacity in yourself, is restoring the beliefs, the stories in your head, and then ultimately designing that next phase of your life. This is where the confidence course came from, right? Just because I, come across like the most altogether person, I have not always been this way. And this is where I've spent the last 6 months fully investing in this in order to bring you the becoming course, in order to bring you the confidence course. So what I want to talk to you about today is really about what self-confidence is, what self-worth really is, why it's necessary. And so kind of really sharing some top tips for that. So first things first, confidence is not something that you're born with, right? Like, some people, we see these kids, and I don't know about you, but I've got loads of friends who've got kids that are like the bounciest, bubbliest, most fun, nuttiest little humans, right? And we're like, oh my God, they're so confident, they're so this. And what you've got to remember is confidence is a state of mind, right? A state of being. Now, the reason that kids and babies and young children have confidence or appear to have kind of confidence or, like real outward expression of who they are, in my opinion, right, in my honest, brutal opinion, is because they haven't at that point got a subconscious. So we don't develop a subconscious mind till we're about 7. It's different for every single person, but on average about 7. We don't develop a subconscious mind. And what a subconscious mind is, the autopilot. That's the programming. That's the thing that dictates whether something's possible for us or not. That's the thing that has the negative narrative in our mind, right? That's what a subconscious is. So we don't really have one of those until we're kind of later in life. And this is why when children go into the end of primary school and in high school, this is where you start to really see their personalities come out. And when they start to have challenges, because at this point, it becomes obvious what they've programmed in the subconscious. So up until this point, unless children have a negative experience to tell them they're not worthy, to tell them they're not good enough. And by the way, guys, this is not about, there's so much I can go into here. This isn't about somebody ever saying necessarily to this child, you're not good enough, you're not this. What this comes from is a concept called core wounds. And I'm actually going to be doing a podcast with my therapist, and she's going to be contributing to some content for the Becoming course, all about core wounds. And what core wounds really are is a wound that happens prior to this age of subconscious. It happens at a very young age. Those core wounds tend to be things like, I'm not seen, I'm not good enough, I'm not loved. Now, when a child experiences those 3 things, it makes them feel very unsafe. Now, when we feel very unsafe, what that means is we don't feel safe to be ourselves, we don't feel safe to take action, we don't feel safe to put ourselves out there. And we all attribute different things based on whichever core wound that we're feeling, right? And like I said, this is happening on a subconscious level. This is not something that's necessarily conscious. Even if you have identified at this point in your life that you have limiting beliefs about not being good enough, or that, being seen as dangerous, or that people don't like you, or whatever, I can honestly promise you this happened at a young age on a very subconscious level. So you may recognize where this has come from. You may never know. And the truth is, you kind of don't need to know. You just need to witness actually what you're triggered by, what you seem to say about yourself, what you think about yourself. And what happens is these core wounds, they show up time and time again, much like a limiting belief. And they normally, these core wounds, and this is a therapeutic concept, right? It's not something that I teach or talk about, but a core wound then generally presents itself time and time again in something called protector parts. And what protector parts are basically what you could call behavior traits or bad habits is what we would call them on a surface level, right? So a protector part could be that you have to control everything and have to organize everything, right? That's kind of what they call a manager protector part. And again, guys, this is a therapeutic model, not something that I teach, but something I understand and has really helped me understand myself. And another protector part might be a firefighter, which basically is something like eating when you feel down or eating when you feel sad, right? And then what the aim, right? And this is the aim, this is what I'm talking about self-confidence is. The aim in any personal growth journey is to heal, right? Is to heal the broken parts of ourselves, is to heal the core wound. Is that when we heal the core wound, if you imagine the wound is in a circle and all the protector parts go around the edge. So, the manager's being controlling over here and then the eating over here. And that's because the human psyche doesn't want to feel this horrible core wound. So what it does is distract it with these other things. So you'll probably talk about this on a surface level with coaches before about eating or alcohol or these other things. But what I want you to know is all of these behaviors are designed to keep you away from uncomfortable and painful feelings, which might be your core wound. So when you're always trying to divert yourself away from this feeling, and when people try to only focus on the outside habits, like fixing what they're eating or fixing why they drink too much or whatever, all you're doing is going to cycle through another one until you actually heal the parts of yourself so that the core wound is healed. And this is why when someone says they're not confident and they think that changing the way that they look or getting a better job or having more money is going to make them more confident, I can absolutely fucking promise you it won't. Because all it's doing is creating either another manager or another protector. It's creating another protector part. And again, not a model I'm going to get into here. I do get into it in the course. I do get into it in a bit more detail. And again, like I said, going to have my therapist talk through some of those concepts in one of the bonuses in the course. Because what I want you to see is A, how amazing she is, but B, how I'm going to talk about how it affected my life and use me as an example, so hopefully it's relatable. So if you do decide to jump in the confidence course, and again the pre-sale offer is on now until the 26th of February at midnight, and basically what that is when you sign up and pay in full, you get a free 1-hour coaching call with me, which is obviously valued at £120. So to get that for free, included in the course, because I truly believe that we need to dig into it, and so you're going to get that for free. So rather than having to pay for extra coaching, you're going to get that for free. So when we have these protector parts, the aim is basically to heal those protector parts so that we heal the core wound, and ultimately we know that we're worthy, we like ourselves, we love ourselves, and trust ourselves. And so what confidence really is the state of being, the state of sense of self-worth, the state of sense of self-knowing, that wholeness, that calmness, that certainty, that connectedness that then allows you to step out, to make bold moves, to make big decisions, to trust yourself, to know yourself, to be able to love others because you love yourself. And so what most people try to do is spend their entire life building confidence through things on the outside of their life, through fixing things on the outside. And this was me, right? I'm not saying this from a place of judgment or a shiny perch. I'm saying this as a person who has done it. You are not going to build confidence by fixing things on the outside of your life. Absolutely taking action steps, creating momentum, achieving your goals, that sense of achievement and integrity will 1,000,000% contribute to a feeling of deservedness, a feeling of self-worth. But if you are always doing it based on your achievement of something, the self-worth is then conditional. It's not permanent. It's conditional based on what action you're taking. And there will be times in your life where you won't be able to take action. You get an injury, so you can't go to the gym. You have a baby, so you're not in the shape you used to be in. You take time off work for, maybe, grief leave, like, what was the word I'm looking for there? You guys know what I'm saying, right? There'll be things that you need to take time off for. So what then happens is the conditions that you've created around how you are confident or what you need to do to be confident, when these no longer exist, you're no longer confident. And I don't want to live a conditional life. I want to live an unconditional, absolute life of certainty, a life of big vision, a life of goals and dreams, a life of taking big steps. But those big steps cannot happen when we're unconfident, because we don't trust ourselves to make those big moves. And when we don't trust ourselves to make our big moves, and we're not in certainty, we're not in that place of connectedness, we're not in that place of trusting ourselves and knowing ourselves, liking ourselves, being able to do things, not does that only stop us doing small things, it stops us doing big things. But what it also does is affects our power to manifest, our power to attract and receive and earn money, attract and receive relationships that that are good for us. Because what happens is when we still have an active core wound, that is part of our energetic vibration, it's part of our thought process, it's part of our identity. And when a core wound is part of who you are on a full body level, so how you think, how you feel, and ultimately how you act, because it's who you are, what then happens is nothing is going to happen in the opposite direction. What most people think is that the universe is dictating or controlling, and I don't believe in destiny. I believe in predetermined things that your soul needs. This is my personal opinion. But I don't believe that the universe or God or whatever you choose to believe in will overwrite your free will. I believe that your free will determines how you want to live your life, and you are supported or unsupported depending on what your energetic vibration is and what you believe to be true. So you will always be supported. It's just whether or not the beliefs that you have are in line with your goals. So, for example, if you believe that you're worthy of £1 million and you step into that energy and you're working that, and you've done the things to feel worthy and all of that stuff, that's amazing, right? But if you believe the only way you can do that is win the lottery, I absolutely guarantee you will never be a millionaire. Now, not to say you couldn't win the lottery, but what people do is they make these conditions up, like, oh, that could never happen to me, that's not possible for me, I'll only be a millionaire if I win the lottery, and then don't even buy a ticket, right? Because deep down, they don't actually believe they're worthy. And so this is why we've got to line up not just what we want, this is also what we've got to line up what we believe. We've also got to line up how we feel. And I've been doing a lot of like energy clearing over the last kind of 6 months. It's called somatic healing, which is basically on how you feel. It's on an energy based level. And we have to make energetic space for the next element of our life, the next stage of our life. And so even if cognitively, in a thinking way, you know you can be more, you know you can be more confident, you know you're capable, knowing you're capable on a logical basis is kind of fucking pointless, because knowing something and then knowing something are completely different things. They're completely different states of being, and they attract completely different things. So what you need to know is that if you actually want to be self-confident, right, it's not about getting up at 6 a.m. every morning and ticking a tick box to say you achieved your goals of the week. That's not confidence, right? That's integrity, right? And that will absolutely help a state of confidence, a state of connection, a state of belief. But you've got to clear the past. You've got to clear out all the shit, like in your wardrobe. If you wanted a brand new wardrobe of power suits and boss dressing, and you add a load of joggers and trackies in there, right? You've got to clear it out. That's the same thing with your belief systems, but it's also the same thing on a much deeper energetic level. Now, I'm going to be doing a couple of more podcasts. I'm going to talk a lot more about the central nervous system. I'm going to talk about some somatic healing. I'm going to talk about a lot of my healing modalities over future episodes. But what I want you to know is that confidence is not an outside-in job. Confidence is an inside-out situation. If you want to ultimately create like body confidence, you want to create confidence in wealth, confidence in a job, confidence in relationships, that is an inside job. And this is why I created the confidence course, right? I actually said I would never create a course in confidence. I also never create a course in money. And here we are. And I've worked out that I'm actually very reverse psychology driven. So it turns out what I'm actually doing is creating conditions for myself to serve me. So that challenge is that works for right now, right? But also what I've realized is my nevers turn into desires, right? I've nevered these things because I didn't want them, right? And then I wanted them. When I wanted them, I did them. But that's because alongside my desire shifting, I've also been consistently working on my beliefs, consistently elevating my energy and working on what I'm available for. And you've heard me talk about that 1,000 times. So here's the thing. If you're lacking in confidence in an area of your life, going out to fix that area of your life is not going to build confidence, right? What's going to build confidence is sitting down, looking at what you want, clearing out all the stories, all the feelings, all the, where relevant, working with, the right therapist, the right coach, whatever, to clear the trauma, to clear and heal and soothe. And, we're going to do some steps in this in the course. We're going to dig into why we have these things, why these are our stories, where these came from. And then what we're going to do from there is we're then going to redesign and build ultimately the life that you want, the confidence, the personality you want to be. So if right now you're like, right, 2023 has not started the way I wanted it to, or maybe I just don't feel like I'm getting into the momentum I want, then look at the confidence course. Because here's the thing, right? I have probably done 15 courses in the time that I've been in the coaching space. I have, you obviously number of qualifications, but these courses have always been for me. I have spent the last 3 years relatively consistently in therapy. I'm a burster, so I do 3 months in therapy and then 3 months off, 3 months in therapy. And what I can tell you, my experience has been this. Structured development always wins, because what happens is when we read a book, even if you read the book and do all the tasks and all the meditations, then you finish the book and move on to the next book. What then happens is there's not normally enough time, right? And I mean physical time, I'm talking about universal time here, to physically create change in that time, and we're on to the next book. Because most people struggle without the accountability, without the financial investment, most people struggle to stay committed to something. And so this is why I created this course, because I know it's going to drop a module a week, module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4, module 5. Then we're going to do a live workshop all together. Then if you've got a coaching call, you can take it at the beginning or the end, depending on if you unlock the pay in full bonus by the 26th. But what that's going to do is give you that structure for that 5 to 6 weeks, so that you've actually got the momentum, the time, the energy, and the commitment to showing up for those modules every single week. And this is why I know that this works. Like, I know this works. I've done this myself on other courses. I've taught this before. In fact, I used to actually teach most of my courses as coaching programs. So even though now these are actual courses on my website, I have taught all of these as coaching programs. They were just very much on a one-to-one basis. And the one thing about that is that doesn't work when you've got international clients all the time. And it also doesn't always work when somebody wants to be relatively self-led. So all I've done is create a system for you to be self-led and then tap into me as you need. Because the reason I stepped away from coaching programs was actually because what can happen when you depend on a person rather than on a self-led course is actually what then happens is that person is enabling you and you're reliant on that person rather than being empowered by that person. And I don't want to be an enabler. I don't want people to depend on me or need me. What I want is people to be empowered by the work that I give them to create, to dig into, to pour into, so they can go on to create their own confidence, so they can always feel that sense of self-esteem, self-worth, self-deservedness, and ultimately create that integrity and that self-confidence for themselves. So that's my today rant on that. So I hope it resonated on some level. Like I said, we're going to be talking about this over the next couple of podcasts, but the pre-launch bonus offer for a free bonus coaching call with me, and the pay in full pre-launch bonus for the confidence course, which is called Becoming, closes on the 26th of February at midnight. So make sure to check that out. I will put the links below on the podcast links, so you can check it out quick time. But I hope you have the most beautiful week. I hope that you had the most beautiful Valentine's self-love February week. I hope that it's actually going to be pancake day when this lands, probably. So I hope you eat some yummy pancakes. I'm actually a big fan of protein pancakes. There's a lot of PTs being like, oh, it's one day, just don't have normal ones. And I'm like, somebody wants to have protein pancakes, you have protein pancakes. You don't want to have protein pancakes, don't have them. Like, just do you. And the thing is, actually, there's a good point for you. The confidence to trust yourself, to make decisions for yourself, I can tell you can't put a price on that. So that was the way that I see it, and I'll see you on the next episode.